I have 7:32, so I think we will get going. I see we have a quorum. We have the Daves, we have Brian, we have myself, we have Michael Ray. So I will try and keep an eye on the participant list and be sure to admit people as they sign on, and I will read a few opening remarks. Bear with me.
Mr. Chair, if I could correct the time, 5:32 rather than
5:30. Did I say 6:30?
7:32.
Did I say 7:30? Oh, I have another 7:30 meeting tonight, so sorry
Yep,
about
not a
that.
problem. I'm just
I'm getting
correcting it
messed
for
up.
the recording, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. 5:30. Being 5:30, being 5:33, we'll start the meeting of the TCP Building Design Committee. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast over the Lunenburg Public Access Channel. The town of Lunenburg, in response to the COVID-19 coronavirus, is currently following the guidance from the Lunenburg Board of Health, Massachusetts Department of Public Health, and the CDC regarding the virus and steps communities can take to prevent the spread. And all town facilities are currently open on a limited basis to the public. In accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, all public meetings are being conducted remotely. The meeting will be recorded and be able to be found on the Lunenburg Access YouTube channel within 24 hours after the meeting. The following information is also provided for members of the public that would like to participate in the meeting remotely. To participate remotely from a computer, please use the link below, which was published in the agenda, to join the public meeting webinar. From a telephone, dial the toll-free number 888-475-4499 and enter webinar ID 814-2890-5274 and then the pound sign. The agenda lists all topics which may be discussed at the meeting and are those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by open meeting law. I will call the roll to make sure everybody from the committee is present and can hear us. Dave Passios.
Here.
Dave Blatt.
Present.
Brian Leighton.
Present.
Michael Ray Jeffries.
Present.
All right, am I missing anybody? I don't think so. Okay. Our first agenda is, as usual, is public comment. So I will open it up to public comment from the public. And again, please try and use the raise hand feature. And if all else fails, just wave at me on the screen if possible. Is there any public comment from the public? All right, Michelle, I see you. Michelle, go ahead.
Everybody, I just wanted to come tonight. The last time I was with you, I think, was in September, and then a representative from my board was with you at the beginning of October. And then somehow we kind of fell off of the radar, and I didn't know about this meeting until I read it in the Ledger this morning. So I thought I should come and kind of just see if I can remind you all what a fantastic opportunity TCP, any space in TCP, would be for the Boys and Girls Club. You know, we have a beautiful building and we're very thankful for it, and we use it to its fullest extent, but TCP is designed for kids and our program is designed for kids. The opportunity to have everything under one roof, again, you know, the actual classrooms or whatever rooms for the kids, the gym, access to the cafeteria, access to the fields. I don't need a lot of parking because the kids can't drive. You know, it really has been a sort of a dream of mine for years. I think I told you at my last meeting, you know, I was asked in 2014, where do you see your club in 5 years? And I drew TCP. You know, I think that if there's any way for us to be considered in this design process, I know that what we offer the community is a very valuable resource. Pandemic aside, you know, at one point we had 200 members, and those are kids in grades 6 through 10. These are older kids who could go home and be alone and choose not to go home, choose to be in an environment where they're supervised appropriately, where they're encouraged to be themselves, to do some homework, to be active, to be healthy, to learn about who they are and to become really great young adults. And I know that you guys are between a rock and a hard place. I know that nobody knew what to do with this building when this committee was created. There were talks about tearing it down. There were talks about tearing part of it down. But as this process goes on, I just hope that you consider the service that the club provides to the community and the opportunity that it would offer us to better serve our members and their families. So, you know, I just wanted to come and kind of say that after reading in the ledger that you were looking for input from your stakeholders. Obviously, I've kind of rallied some troops as quickly as I could. I sent an email at 4:30, not knowing that the meeting was tonight at 5:30. So thank you to my cheerleaders for being here. You know, I know that this has been a tough process and you guys have done a lot of work. But as this continues, I hope that you'll consider the Boys and Girls Club.
Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming. I constantly have to remind myself to check the admittance board here. Sorry for that. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Any members of the public that would like to speak? I see there's one person named Heather that just was admitted, so I will say it one more time. Is there any members of the public that would like to make a public comment? And I see Brent. Go ahead, Brent.
Hello. Thank you guys for having us tonight. I really do echo everything Michelle said. You know, I envision the club being a bigger and better place than we can offer right now in our current building. To give you, I guess, one small, you know, example, tomorrow we have a staff training and we're going to be going through a bunch of stuff. And one of the things we're also doing is organizing our extremely small art storage closets. They are 2 individual closets the size of probably smaller than most houses would have to fit all the art supplies we might possibly need. And we have to make tough choices. So half that stuff's going to go because it can't fit no more. So that's just one little challenge. And that kind of echoes through our entire club. We have to make a lot of choices on what can't fit and what we can't offer because of the size of our building. TCP would offer a lot of things. More space, more convenience for the students walking across from high school and middle school. And obviously the gymnasium being right there is a large addition where we're not sending kids to the gym and back. We're not sending kids to the library and back. We're all in one location. So it also would raise our safety level a lot of tiers. So, you know, on top of echoing what Michelle said, I just wanted to add those things as well.
Okay, thanks, Brent. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming this evening. Appreciate the comments. I see Corinne. Yes, ma'am.
Hello. Can you hear me okay? I'm sorry, I'm outside.
It's okay. Yeah, we can
Okay.
hear you.
All right. So I just want to echo, you know, similar to what Michelle is saying about the Boys and Girls Club. You know, I know you guys have a monumental task in front of you and have had. But speaking on behalf of the Lions Club, you know, we too, of course, would benefit from a location within a vibrant, active, very community-centric building. And as you know, we are looking for a ground level space for our food pantry because we are on a second floor now and we're not as accessible as we'd like to be. But I won't go further down that road. You guys have heard my pitch. You know what we're looking for. And I know that you guys will put the best plan in front of the town for that decision to be made. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Corinne. I appreciate that. Thank you for coming and your attendance over the weeks. Well, everybody who's here. I've seen a lot of familiar faces. We appreciate the involvement. Heather, you have the floor, ma'am. You are muted. Let's see if I can unmute you. Heather, I'm trying to get you unmuted. Sorry. Let's see if I can.
Would be able to break out a little bit better. And I think then it would keep, especially like those 9th and 10th graders, engaged longer, because then they could have a space instead of being right on top of 6th graders, because that's a big age range. And I just think the space in itself isn't the most ideal, and the kids adore the Boys and Girls Club. All of mine do, and all of them also are junior staff and staff, but I could just see so much potential. The gym alone, I would say, in my estimate, I would probably say half the kids use it or more every day, and it's such a important piece. And just all the different ways they could spread out and possibly even help younger grades into. So that's just my opinion for the Boys and Girls Club. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you coming. Thank you for those comments. Mr. Alonso.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wasn't going to speak in public comment, but after hearing, we've heard from two groups, the Boys and Girls Club and the Lions Club. I'm concerned. My concern is that the charge, and it's not this group's responsibility. It's more of how this came about, that a few years ago, I can't remember if it was 2 or 3, when the last plan came forward and the architect's design showed that if we moved town hall into the patios, we could probably, and there was a thought of getting rid of a third of the building, that that was part of the plan. And here we are these few years later, and we don't have enough space now all of a sudden to house everybody. And while this is going on, we still have, if we move town hall, as is the primary focus of this committee, or the primary part, is that we're going to have another vacant building, and we're putting, my concern is that we're putting offices in patios that would be better suited for what it was designed for, again, with kids, and we'll have the Ritter, and we think we should be approaching that. Now, I know this is outside the charge of the TC Pasios Design Committee, as is indicated in your name, but as a member of the Board of Selectmen, it's certainly not within outside of our realm to say, I think that needs to be considered, because if we're just going to do this again with another building next, instead of at least considering some of the alternatives that those buildings or building with the concerns the Ritter allow us, I think we may be, again, trying to shoehorn too much in one area and not allow the other space that the town has. And while I don't want to grow this committee's charge, because that makes it more difficult, I also don't want to leave people out. And in the case of Corinne with the Lions Club and with the Boys and Girls Club, these are places these would be great places for these locations to be. I mean, the Lions Club, second floor storage clearly makes no sense for them. It makes it very difficult for them to maneuver, and they've done an incredible job over the years doing that. And the Boys and Girls Club are really hampered by their own success. They are stuck on a postage stamp size lot. Now they don't even have the parking lot that they can block off, because we can't park in the village anymore, people at town hall. And there's no way for them to go. They're like that will basically be a curse on them. It took them 10 years to get the building to begin with lots and lots of lobbying, and that's what they were able to do. Here's an opportunity, I think, that affords them an ability to expand and centralize both at the same time and not necessarily put anybody else out. So if there's any way to accommodate these things and utilize the Ritter so that we're not looking at another vacant building for, 7 to 10 years, that would be advantageous. So I just wanted to voice that as I listen to the rest of the discussion tonight. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you coming and appreciate your comments. Are there any other members of the public that wish to speak? Okay. Are there any members of the committee that wish to give a public comment? I'm just going to go down. I'm going to call the roll, if you don't mind, just for expediency. We got Michael Ray on the phone and isn't visible, so or isn't looking at us. So I'll start with Dave Passios.
Yeah, if I could make a brief comment, I'd like to. Or do you want to do a roll call all the way
No,
through?
I mean, I'm just going to go through the roll. So you're up.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah, Dave Passios, member of the committee. Honestly, I don't disagree with all of the previous speakers. And, we've bantered this around for a good month now, trying to figure out how to fit all the entities and uses into this building. Bottom line, the school district's needs have mushroomed into, I'm going to say a third of the building, but it's probably wrong. A good percentage of the building that was not planned to be occupied by the school district 3 to 5 years ago. With the priorities that we set, and I think they were proper priorities given our charge, this is what we have for a floor plan, which has been presented tonight for our approval and the department approvals individually throughout the building this past week. And again, there is such a tangled web to try to relocate any major entity in this building at present to fit the Boys and Girls Club in. I really don't see how we'd be able to move a project forward if we even consider that at this point. We've done the best we can with the charge that we have. I don't disagree with Mr. Alonso that maybe the Board of Selectmen could steer that other option, but we cannot. And at this point, we need to forge forward with what we have come up with for a floor plan and adjacencies. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Dave Blatt, anything?
Sure. I think this committee through the meetings have knows my opinion when it comes to the Boys and Girls Club. I think it's, what we're looking at is we felt like our charge was first town offices, second was school offices, third was school needs. And after that, that took over most of the building. I didn't expect that the school needs would be over, close to half the build. Well, almost over a third to half the building would be school needs. That was never my thought, but it's unfortunate. And according to the school, that they cannot utilize other buildings, and I think that's the most unfortunate thing. So I think we're kind of, I think hopefully the folks would, when they see the building plans, will understand what we've come up against in the long run here. That's it, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Brian.
Thank you. I would like to thank the public for coming, those who spoke, for the organizations. I would agree with a lot of what Mr. Passios had said. I would also add that I think it's really important that these outside organizations also have access to the field, to the gym, to the conference and community center spaces that they could either book or reserve. I think it would be great if some of these outside organizations too research looking into the Brooks House or the Ritter Building and and contact the selectman or the town manager to look into using these spaces. And I think even there is a lot of this that's been discussed too that's like out of our purview of this committee. And I think the selectman and the town manager, after the completion of this, can look into whether they want to move positions or move groups or organizations. But I feel like the committee is doing their best to set up what we need and what we think is best to go in the building. And I think the Boys and Girls Club is challenging because we really want them to expand, but there's not enough space for them to expand. I also look at the Boys and Girls Club as an organization that's contributing about 25% of that age group from that 0 to 22. But we also need those spaces for those younger kids. And I don't look at them as school programs, but really these are after school programs that are needed for the younger kids as well.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Michael Ray Jeffries, anything to add?
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'd like to just echo the previous comments, and I want to thank the members of the public for joining us tonight. I think that we did over the last couple of months especially, as we've kind of focused on the programming of the buildings, really reaching out to outside organizations to maximize how we can have the most impact on the community, utilizing the minimal space that we have. I think that the Boys and Girls Club was part of our floor plan up until the most recent iteration. And I think that we had a deliberate focus on trying to accommodate the needs of the Boys and Girls Club based on, the huge offering that they give the community. But I think we've arrived at the point we're at now with a realization that we were squeezing everyone else in order to be able to accommodate it. That going into this, I think that one thing is all of us, I think, are in agreement on is that we don't want to be in a position where where we need a new town hall in 15 years from now. And that whatever we're doing, that it will meet the needs as we can potentially envision them for the foreseeable future. Certainly things are going to change. One of the limitations, as has been echoed, that we've had here is the needs of the school. And we've had the superintendent on most of these calls, and we've asked the tough questions of why it is that the schools need so much space after they turned over this building to the town for the care, custody, and control of the town. And I'm not sure if the school representatives are on here tonight, but to echo some of the main takeaways that I heard, one being that the value of co-location. We trust the town manager to administer the town in many ways. We trust the superintendent to oversee the education of our youth. And certainly when both the town manager and superintendent spoke to the need for co-location, I certainly trusted that perspective. One of the things that also came out with the superintendent, who did look at the other buildings, was she spoke to how the Ritter building was not designed for office space, and that the ceilings in that building only go 3/4 of the way up for ventilation, air conditioning, and ventilation purposes. And that part of the school needs is they need confidential space. And that was one of the real limitations of the Ritter building. The other thing that we also heard was about the ACE program, which targets the young adults who are developmentally delayed, but are between the ages of 18 and 21, who are still technically part of the school program, and that their location also needs to be co-located with the director of that program. And that director wears many different hats, to include hats within the superintendent's office. And so, that was one of the needs that I know we were trying to address. And the real limitation was, was the extended day program. And knowing that in order for a lot of parents to be able to get their kids to and from school, they need a safe place for the kids to go before school and after school. And that extended day program, it needs to be able to meet the current needs of the kids, and it needs to be able to meet some of the future needs of the kids. And so as we programmed in the storage needs, as we look at the meeting space, we had community organizations come forward and speak to the need for more meeting room space. Right now, if you're in that bracket where, you know, you're part of an organization, you want to meet at town locations, you really don't have anywhere to go. And so I think that as we try to prioritize these needs, adjusting the school, looking at the town, looking at the need for meeting space, and looking at the needs for the PAC, the after-school program, the needs for storage, you know, while we had the Boys and Girls Club in the plan, where we were at was no one else was happy. That we weren't meeting everyone. We weren't as satisfactorily meeting anyone's needs. And so unfortunately in this process, I know that as we took that out and looked at the next space needs, what we were able to achieve was every town department coming into agreement that their needs are being met appropriately by what's being proposed. I certainly believe that the town is committed and dedicated to children. If there's one thing that we're good at, and many things maybe we're not, but if there's one thing that we care a lot about and that we're willing to put resources for, it's for children. And I think that consistently we have demonstrated that. It saddens me greatly that this plan is not able to accommodate what we've heard from the Boys and Girls Club over the last several weeks. But I do not believe that our commitment to the town, our commitment to kids is limited to this building. I do believe that those needs will be met, and it's just unfortunate that despite our best efforts to make that possible. But I do certainly, you know, want to be mindful, and I think that there's more to discuss on the town side in terms of how we do better accommodate future needs. And one highlight I want to mention is that, you know, with this plan,
Michael Ray, it sounds like you're getting closer to
we
home.
will find ourselves in a position where there are needs. Yeah, and so I do think that we will have opportunity going forward.
We caught only maybe a third of your last 60 seconds or so, but I think we get the gist. Thank you very much for that. I don't have a lot to add. I echo what the committee members said. Pretty much. I can agree with pretty much everything. I guess I'll just add that I want to be sure to communicate, particularly to the Boys and Girls Club, that to reuse a word that Mr. Jeffries, to phrase that Mr. Jeffries used, it saddens me as well to not be able to meet that that program need. It became very clear in the last month or so, as we were trying to lay out all the uses in here, that we were really trying to put 6 gallons into a 5-gallon bucket. My 2 older kids, and perhaps my third is looking to attend Boys and Girls Club. I mean, I see the value, and I guess I just wanted to communicate clearly that it's a very tough, gut-wrenching thing, I think, at least for me, to have to prioritize the way we did. But I also want to say that it is not in any way intended, certainly from my perspective, and I think I can speak for the members of the committee, that it is not intended to give any kind of message to say that the Boys and Girls Club isn't an important part of our community, that it doesn't provide some sort of a significant service to the kids. It does all those things. We agree with everything that you've said, and it's sort of a very difficult task for us. So I'll just leave it at that. I didn't want this, I certainly don't want this to be construed as some sort of no vote or no confidence. I mean, it has nothing to do with that at all. And I think all of us wish that we had more space in there. I guess to echo another couple things that people have said, I was surprised too that you walk into that building and you say, geez, there's a lot of space here. But when you start to lay things out and look through and the process that we've been embarking on or working on over the past 2 to 3 months with the analysis with the architects, it's proved to be difficult. So I appreciate everybody coming this evening, and I appreciate all the public comments, both from the public and from the committee. And I will, I think, turn to our next agenda item, which is committee organization. We have a new member. I probably should have said this in public comment, but we have a new member. The planning board has elected or has chosen Matthew Allison as the planning board representative to replace Tanner Cole. So we, that was just last week. So, you know, I'm sure he perhaps had some commitments. I didn't hear from him one way or the other. So in the hopes that we might have another member or two, I put on community organization because we need to think about who's going to, you know, chair, vice chair, clerk. We're short a clerk at the moment still. So I propose we table this until we have at least another member or two, hopefully. I'm seeing a lot of head nods, so we'll do that. With that, we will turn to third agenda item, which is review, approve, schematic design plan. And I guess just a quick word on this before I turn it over to Tom and Ed and their team. We did indeed get the plans from Ed, from Tom last week. Geez, it was Monday or Tuesday. I think it was Tuesday. And Dave Blatt and Heather Lemieux and myself reviewed those just to a quick check just to make sure that it squared with our comments from the week before, from the committee's comments before they got sent to the department heads. And we issued a couple of comments back, and Tom cleaned those up and submitted that to the town department heads for review and sign off. And again, just so everybody in the call is and the public is aware, we're at a point in the discussion where we've sort of where we're looking to finish the schematic design phase. So there's a whole other phase now that we're sort of entering into that's going to drill down and get even more specific. But this phase really looked at overall space planning, adjacencies, what works well together next to each other, what doesn't, and that kind of thing. And that was sort of the process that we've been going through. So I just want to be clear that we're not at the end of the process. We're still in the middle. And I think with that, I will turn it over to Tom and or Ed, and I'll give you guys the floor. And good evening.
Hi, glad to be here. So I will attempt to do a share screen.
You should be able to.
It said host disabled participant screen sharing.
Okay, let me see if I can. Try it now. Okay. Can you, there you go.
Great. Can everybody see the floor plans?
Yes.
So I'm happy and pleased to tell the committee that we got sign-offs from all the departments except the town clerk, which I wonder why they're busy this week.
Yeah.
And almost there is a couple of minor points that came back, the department heads came back with. One, the school superintendent, she has a couple comments about enclosing a reception desk. So it's really a design development issue. That's something that we're going to talk about. We also received a comment from Steve Walker from PAC, and he noted that they're still looking at some other studios, so there might be some internal changes, and those changes, again, they are design development issues. So I'm just pleased to say that we got the sign-offs, and I know the town folks, department heads are really busy, and we got comments from them late Friday, a couple on Saturday, so we really appreciate the dedication. And just a quick reminder, and this is as far as the process. So we, as Greg said, that he and Dave and Heather reviewed the plans. We made some changes, and then we sent the documents out. And what we want to reiterate is the fact that this particular sign off is about adjacencies and areas within the departments, and that we are moving forward to more details, like what kind of locks, what kind of casework, what kind of finishes will go into into each space. And there were a couple of things that we're still working on that was discussed at the last meeting, which is the different types of toilets. So we are doing a occupancy count right now. As with that, we can determine how many fixtures, plumbing fixtures, and the type of fixtures in the mix that we will have. So we are hoping to give you that answer when we meet next week. But as of now, we don't know. We still don't know how many toilets there are. But we did have a big note in the overall plan that I just want to show the committee that that the final plumbing fixture counts and toilet destinations, they are still being looked at. So that's one thing that we know we still need to do. But other than that, we have wrapped up from the department head standpoint, the schematic design sign-off exercise. So it's now up to the committee for their comments and any other issues we need to deal with for schematic design sign-off. So, Greg, I don't know how you would like to lead this discussion of the sign-off from the committee.
Say that again, Tom. I missed that last.
Oh, how would you like to
Okay.
proceed with the committee sign-off? Or I wonder if there are any comments or.
Yeah, let's open it up to the board, to the committee members. And then I guess see how that discussion goes. And, you know, we are looking for a sign off from the committee this evening. So I guess after that, we can take that up. So I'll just kind of do a roll here. And I'll start at if I can, I'll start the other way this time. Michael Ray Jeffries, do you have any comments?
I do, but I'm really close to home, and I'm gonna cap out. So can I reserve it for 5 more minutes from now?
I'll go the other way then, Michael Ray. I'll wait. We'll wait. We'll take you at the end. Let's go to Brian Leighton.
Thanks. I didn't have any major concerns. One thing we did discuss last week was a potential family bathroom. I thought that would still be a good option, possibly a family bathroom that people could access.
Okay. And maybe we'll just get the comments out, and then Tom or Ed, if you want to address them at the end, that might be the most appropriate. Dave Blatt.
Mr. Chair, the only thing I do see is I see that the town clerk storage, I think we talked about removing that from the conference room. And the other one was just, I'd like to see on meeting room number meeting room number 3 up top, the storage. I know I'm not, other than that, the basic floor plan looks fine. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Pending the bathroom review. Exterior review.
Bathrooms is amazing, huh?
Yes.
You know. Okay, Dave Passios.
Yeah, I had some time over the weekend to take a look at this, and I agree. The basic floor plan we have set out right now looks good to me. I haven't come up with any serious issues, and when the bathrooms get adjusted, then we'll know if we have a little bit more space. And I think if we do, we basically commit it to storage or for storage for future growth. If we've got a space big enough for a future office, but use it for storage at this point. The only other thing I'd like to mention, and it's not, we don't need to deal with it at this point, but as we get further into design of the individual spaces, I think we have to have a very serious conversation about the commercial kitchen. And I think we should bring in some of the people that researched this back a couple of years ago, including the Board of Health, to really understand what's going to be involved in that kitchen. The architects can give us the cost to install it, but the Board of Health can give us the do's, don'ts, and regulations on how it has to operate, and it is very involved. And that may sway our decision on whether we spend that much money on that area. I just wanted to bring that up at this point so it plants a seed for later. Otherwise, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dave. I'm going to try to talk and review the participants list here so I can let Michael Ray back in. I don't have much to add. I'll just say that I think a lot of these things can be and are appropriate to discuss in design development phase. Design development is when we get a chance to really drill down and get a little bit more detailed with things. And most importantly, we get to start reviewing costs, implications on things. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, but some of these decisions, like what Mr. Passos was saying, might have we might get some cost numbers from our design team and make some decisions based on that. So, but overall, I agreed with the committee. I also agreed with Mr. Blatt that we think the storage in the clerk's room is funny, but I think that we can address that in design development in terms of where storage goes and moving things around and making it more, even making it more efficient than what we have. But I think overall the floor plan looks good. I think it appears to, well, I reviewed it last week, so it appears to be what we discussed 2 weeks ago when this committee met. I am still waiting for Michael Ray. I expect him any minute.
Greg, could I interject one more question?
Sure.
At this point? To Tom or Ed, I guess. I had a couple of thoughts about the outside perimeter parking and access around the building. Will we have an opportunity to fine tune that in development and design also? I see a nodding head, so that's fine. I just wanted to be sure that we'd be able to tweak that if we all decided it.
Well, if the architect had to do more work, I'm sure the civil engineers have to too. So.
Yeah.
And the structural too, before I get.
Yeah, as we wrap up the occupancy count that Tom mentioned, we'll be fine tuning the parking space count. And so we'll still be looking at the parking.
Okay, great. I just came up with a couple of tweaks that might be advantageous and might be agreeable to the committee for the future. One of them having to do with the spacing on that back gravel parking lot, but we don't need to get into that tonight.
Mr. Chair, can we,
Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Tom mentioned a little bit about that. He got comments back from the different departments. Is it possible to get a rough idea of some of those comments? I mean, I don't need details, but just a general feel or that, hey, we love it, we like it, or you're doing something wrong.
Okay, so there were two. One is from the school department, and Dr. Burnham would like to have the reception area instead of open to be enclosed. And the second comment is from Steve Walker, and he is saying that they are looking at other studios and that there might be some internal revisions. But I perceive this as a design development level work. So those were the only two comments. The rest were primarily attached. They said, okay, this is the attached signed document, and here they are. So
When you say looking at other studios, do you mean he's reviewing other studios around the area to try to get inspiration for how they're going to outfit theirs? Okay.
right, yeah.
Okay.
And one of the things that was the concern of this committee was the location of ACE in relationship to schools. I mean, to preschool, and the superintendent had no issues.
She didn't bring it up, so I would.
No, that's fine.
So we also did move the separate them by putting a town storage and school storage. So try to separate them a little bit.
I did speak with the superintendent this afternoon too, and she did like the design.
Okay.
Had no concerns. Can I just add one more thing? Just because Dave Passios mentioned the kitchen, and I have some family that live in Townsend, and one of them works at the senior center library, and they have a commercial kitchen there too. So that might be somebody we can reach out to try to just get some real life experience, local experience of how they do their kitchen. But I thought that was an option. Look into surrounding communities.
Yeah, that's we could I have a connection there. We could try to get some feedback from them. I'll make a note to try to do that.
And
We
Mr.
also,
Chair,
it'd be great to have a big donor like they have up there in Townsend. They get some awesome facilities that they don't even have to, anyway, I digress. 1 sec, Dave, real quick, because Michael Ray is back on, so I want to give him the floor. Go ahead.
Let Michael Ray go. Mine was,
Okay.
his comments are more important.
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
You said it, not me.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Jeffries.
I caught the tail end of Brian's comment. Would you mind just refreshing me, Brian, on what that was? Was that the pack kitchen or the commercial kitchen?
The commercial kitchen. So the Townsend Library Senior Center, it's kind of more of a community center, but they have a kitchen there that they use. So I thought it's in a recent updated building too, so they might have some good advice for us and kind of design ideas.
Okay. Yeah, and one thing, and I'll add to that. I think I told you guys a few years ago, I did a commercial kitchen in the Cambridge area. And as part of that process, I was on the contracting side. As part of that, I actually went and got my certification to be a kitchen manager. Not that I ever plan on managing kitchens, because I don't, but I figured it would be helpful to have a better understanding of the requirements for commercial kitchens since I was building one, to have a better clue. But certainly, I think having chefs and other stuff involved is helpful. My comments really tonight are limited, Tom, and if you can look at this, if you're able to manipulate the screen a little bit more to show the office area. So I think the screen to the right, and I'm looking at the town manager office area. Okay. So I just wasn't sure if the town manager had noted that the office space was a little smaller than I think she was looking for, and if that's already been adjusted or not. Okay.
Yes, they have been adjusted. Yeah.
All right. And then I did have the opportunity. I was at town hall last week to sign some stuff for the select board. And I ran into the town clerk, who was very, very busy. And she said that everything she's seen so far was good with her. You know, I spoke with her a little more about that extra room and kind of what it's needed. And I think I had a good, because the day I was there, I was able to see her space needs like in more clearly. And I think that as you're looking at that interim room, basically the town clerk noted that after hours, this is just more context, I think, for us, is that a lot of times when it's around election time, she has to work after hours because she needs more space. And that she uses in the hallway there, they have like some kind of table-ish in the hallway that she uses. She's using all surfaces in the in her office area, and it's to really be able to sort through some of the ballots. And so, you know, seeing it, it makes a lot more sense to me of what she's looking for. You know, I don't know how functional, in all fairness, you know, it's going to be to think that she's going to occupy a space for only 8 months out of the year. You know, I think over time it starts to become 12 months out of the year. You know, but, you know, we'll see what happens there. And then I think I heard Brian or someone mention prior to about the bathroom, but I cut off around then for the family bathroom. And what was the feedback on that, if you don't mind?
I think it's just that we're still doing the occupancy drills to figure out what the final occupancy of the building is going to be. And once we have those numbers, they'll be able to come up with a code analysis for how many bathrooms we need. And we'll have a better presentation for whether or not we can gain back a few, you know, whether we can restructure some of those bathrooms that if they're extras or what. Brian did mention that a family, you know, sort of reiterated that having a family bathroom would be desirable. And I can't say I disagree. But I think that's a design, that's our next step task, design development task.
Okay. Well, thank you.
That's it, Mr. Jeffries?
That's it.
Okay. Okay. So let me just, I spelled out things here in the agenda a little bit. So let me just make sure I'm not, yeah, okay. So are we ready to vote on this? And again, I think what we're voting on is we're voting to approve the schematic design as presented, with the understanding that that is really related to overall adjacencies, sort of big picture type items, and not locking us into having the storage closet door swing to the left instead of needing it to swing to the right, or having, you know, 4 bathrooms when we might be able to get by with 3, you know, that kind of thing. So, but I think that is what we are looking to do. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, but that's what you're looking for. And I will accept the motion if anybody is willing to make one relative to that.
Before we do that, I do have a question on the exact plan, because the email we got has kind of 2 variations.
Okay.
So in our, I'm just looking at these documents right now, trying to make sense of them. So there's one that I think you even have it up right now. One that shows like that veterans office in green, one that shows that veterans office in pink.
That was a coordination issue. It should be in pink. So I think that was the discrepancy. But as far as the area is still the same. So is the way that our drafter was creating different drawings. So yeah.
Okay.
But not a substantive difference is what you're saying, Tom.
Correct.
Okay. Anybody else? I don't want to speak too soon. I mean, by all means, if anybody has any more discussion on this, I don't want to, I'm certainly not, I don't want to force the issue here, but I think we're at the point where we can consider a motion if someone would like to make one.
I've got a quick question about primarily the West Wing. And again, this is probably design and development more than it is this step. But I don't clearly see the external doors that presently exist on this plan as much as we saw them in the past. Has it been determined whether we're keeping those access or egresses, or are they going away?
I believe what we discussed in previous times was that if there is a hallway that connects to those openings, we would keep them, or if it is required by code, but otherwise we would remove them. But again, we can revisit the doorways during this development.
Right. Yeah, I'm more concerned as required by code, and I'm not so sure. I guess my question is, do you know the way you've got it laid out right now that the doors don't have a connection to a hallway are the ones that do, let me put it that way, are the only ones that might be required, or might you have to cut into an office space to accommodate accessing one of those doors in one of these spaces?
Yeah, each department or each group, because of the number of occupants within those groups, they are, we just need one way to get back into the main corridor. So if we do need the exterior doors, we would have shown them, but we can.
So are you saying that basically that the doors at the end of the hall and the main doors for the building is enough to handle the code compliance?
Right, because there's two means of egress from all the points coming from the offices.
And you're saying that each individual office suite does not rise to the level of needing 2 egresses in each space?
Right.
Okay.
Great,
So like,
thank you.
for example, the town manager's suite only needs to have one access point out of that sub area into the hallway, where then they can travel either direction to get to the exit. Is that what you're saying?
Right, because we're talking about technically 3 to 4 occupants out of this big area.
Right.
And this is an office business occupancy.
Okay. So any door that we get on the exterior in any of those suites is sort of a bonus.
Right, and then if we were to just as an instance, look at the conference. Oops.
I believe
for
the
example,
occupancy is 49 people or more, you need 2 doors.
That's why the meeting rooms, number 2 and 3, we show the doors.
Gotcha. Okay. Yep.
But actually, office, this one we can eliminate the IT. Yeah. Thanks, Ed. And then,
Does that answer your question, Dave?
Yes, it did. Very, very nicely. Thank you. The only comment I would make to that is in the education space, just from a being comfortable point of view with kids in you know, the number of kids that are going to be in those spaces, and those doors are still there. So that's fine. Thank you.
and actually those, we need 2 means out. So
Yep.
again, we'll look at it further.
Okay. And I think that's great for those programs. I mean, you have a really nice day and we're going to have some green space right outside the doors. So I think having direct access to that is very advantageous for those groups.
Okay. Anybody else?
So just to clarify, we are voting to approve the adjacency, the building usage, and the basic floor plan.
Yeah, I think we're voting to accept or approve, however you want to phrase it, the schematic plan as, and we could maybe you could pull the name of the plan and the date, Tom. But I think we're voting to approve the schematic,
That's fine.
quote, schematic plan that Tom has on the screen here. So I'm not sure if there's a.
No, that's fine. The way it's phrased right there, the designing plan signifies approval of departmental adjacencies and areas. So I make can I do a motion? Or you're not
Absolutely.
ready?
Yep.
So I make a motion that we approve the plan, approve the schematic plans, and we're approving the departmental adjacencies in areas, conference rooms, meeting rooms, and building storage locations, not necessarily the details.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Do we have any discussion? And I'm going to go through again and call on everybody individually. Michael Ray Jeffries.
No. No discussion.
Okay, Brian Leighton.
No discussion, thank you.
All right, Dave Blatt,
No discussion.
Dave Passios.
No discussion.
Okay, none for me either. So with that, I will do a roll call vote, and I'll go the same direction just so we don't confuse anybody. Michael Ray Jeffries,
Aye.
Brian Leighton,
Aye.
Dave Blatt,
Aye.
Dave Passios,
Aye.
and an aye for me. Okay. That's good. Thank you, gentlemen. Do Tom or Ed have any additional things they would like to share with the committee?
I'll start first. So in addition to looking at the occupancy load and the code review for the plumbing code, we're also looking at the level of renovations. So what is the category of renovations? And we're looking at that. Now we have a general sense of how many walls are eliminated, what is the scope of change within the building, and then now that we have these plans, our engineers can start looking at start preparing the narrative of what's being proposed. And there might be some other things that you might be aware of that.
Yeah, Tom, just as you were mentioning, we're wrapping up the code review as far as the renovation level of work in the IEBC code, because this is an existing building. So we'll have a better handle if this is a level 2 or a level 3. The higher the level, the more things have to be done from the engineering side, from the MEP side, life safety, structural. So we'll have a better handle on that soon. And as we touched on a little earlier, with the occupancy count, we'll be wrapping up the actual parking requirements for the project, which we'll be able to be tweaking those during the design development phase as well.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Mhm.
And you're back on in the next agenda item, but I'll acknowledge Michael Ray.
Yep, I just had one minor comment for the architect, which is the label that is for the town clerk. I'm assuming we're going to be using this for our presentation. So the right-hand side, you just have it identified as town manager, and that's just what you're using it for town clerk. That orange-looking color.
Oh, is it the?
Yeah, I'm looking at your overall design, and you have a legend on your right-hand side that just identifies that that's town manager, but the usage is town clerk for that peach color.
Oh, like here.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
Sorry about that. I was trying to do two things at once. Okay, I think that that does it for that agenda item. We're looking forward to diving into design review, so design development. So
We are too.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. Thanks everybody for the work on that to get us to this point. It's been you know, it's been some work, so I appreciate everybody's efforts. Let's see, I have lost my agenda. Okay, next order of business is preparation for town meeting, So I think we discussed our next meeting, next Monday, is really for us to dedicate to this purpose on the 9th. But Tom indicated that he'd have a draft of a presentation, which it appears that he's showing us on the screen, that we could take a look at and sort of have time to chew on it a little bit prior to next week's meeting. So I think, Tom, since you're queued up, I'll give you the floor.
Thank you. So why don't I do a quick overview and then we can come back and discuss. So we start with the cover sheet, and I want to thank everybody who is involved with the process. And then we moved on to process and timeline, starting with the site documentation. Obviously, we can add more details, site surveys, traffic study. Then regarding the building existing conditions, talked about the scanning aspects, and the images on the right-hand side are from our scanner. And we also look at the MEP systems, the building enclosure, hazardous materials. And then regarding design, we started with program verification. And so we started with the 2016 program, and also the different groups that we interviewed during this process. After that, we moved on to departmental adjacencies. Again, this is based on the program that we got from the different departments. After that, we moved on to site design. We still have to add some images here. Then we talk about traffic flow, parking, drop off. And finally, at this point, we have the schematic design sign off. So we want to say what that means. And then it is being signed off by all these different departments. Boy, I didn't put down town clerk. And that was before I got the comments back. So maybe I knew they were busy. And then we also want to address the next steps. During design development, we'll be looking at these different aspects. And then lastly, we just want to thank the committee and the town for the opportunities on this project. So that's all we got. So start without input from anybody from you folks. So.
Okay, thank you for that. I guess I open this up to the committee to take this as far as we want to go tonight, or as little as we want to go tonight. I guess I'll just start. I mean, I guess I envision someone from the committee. I have a sinking suspicion I know who that's going to be. Will stand up and introduce the project, sort of address the town meeting floor, and maybe give a more a longer, not that it needs to be long, but what I mean is give a little bit of a history lesson as to where we've come even prior to getting the design team in place, and then turn it over to Tom to give this presentation or something like it, and then be up there to take all the tomatoes and fruit that gets thrown at us. No.
Hey Ed, are you busy that night? I thought you were coming.
So I just, and then be available obviously for questions to the extent that we have questions from the town meeting floor. So I guess I'll take any other comments that the committee has relative to that process. And also any input that we might want to give to Tom and his team relative to their presentation. And I think we can kind of go popcorn style here. I don't know that we need to call the roll. So Dave Passios, I see your hand. Go ahead.
Trying to get my video back on. Thank you. Yeah, I like this as a first draft. I think I'd like to have some time, and it's great that we have it now and we can rediscuss this next Monday to see if there's anything else that pops into our heads that we'd like to have put up on the screen. I think the scans especially are important. It speaks to the ability of the group that we've chosen to help us with this design. And it shows all of the work that's gone into getting to this point. So I think that's very good. One of the things that I think we'll need to be sure to discuss with Tim Murphy is the proper procedure for allowing the architects to present at town meeting. I think depending on how he wants to handle it, there's actually a process to, sponsor them to speak. Or it may be as simple as he says, if one of us on the committee does a initial presentation and then he agrees that we just pass it off to the architects, that's fine also.
Yeah, well, we could talk to him. The article says to see if the town will vote to authorize a report from the committee and or its, design professionals or something like that. So the article itself is phrased, Heather, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't have it right in front of me, but it's phrased in such a way that will allow for presentation to be in part, at least from our design professionals. But
I honestly didn't read it word for word. If that's in there, that's definitely appropriate as long as, once.
And the town will have to vote that, we'll have to move that article before we give the presentation. But go ahead, Heather.
Yeah, you're right, Greg. That's worded as to see if the town will vote to hear an interim report from the TC Building Design Committee and or from representatives from the design firm.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Well,
that covers all of it. Thank you.
Heather, should we run that by Mr. Murphy?
Yes. Yep. What typically someone who's not a voter, the town moderator would have to acknowledge them and allow them to.
Okay.
Speak.
So should we just make him aware that that's going to be the case? Is that?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. Before I go to Brian, anything else, Dave Passios?
Nope, I'm good. And Brian, Greg, excuse me. I need to step away for about 5 minutes, so I'll be back as quickly as I can.
Thank you. Brian.
Thanks. Just my initial thoughts. Like Dave said, I would agree that it would be good to look over more in more detail and come up with some ideas. But just initially, I thought the TC Building Design Committee, just listing by name and in each area they represent, I think showing that diverse group will help. Also, I noticed the meeting with the following groups. I would definitely even add groups that we've discussed. I think expanding that list is always great. So including, say, the Lions Club there, including the Grange that they came and spoke. I think all the groups that we've heard from, I think making a nice long list and expanding that would be great. And along the lines, if this isn't going to be printed out and passed out, I don't know if I want these tiny little prints with that table on the right that looks really tiny that people aren't probably going to be able to view. So thinking about as a presentation, are people going to be able to read certain things? And if not, then maybe not include things like that. I think that was it initially. That looks pretty good start. Thanks.
Thanks, Brian. Let's go to Dave. Yes.
Okay, so agree with Brian. I look at it, the idea is that the key rule I learned when presenting is you don't want people to sit there reading slides while you're trying to get a point across. So I'd look to keep the slides simple. mainly with the facts, explaining all the different groups we have and things of that sort. I also like to maybe have us as a group presenting more of our thought process, just of how we started, where we went, and how we ended up with the uses that we have for this building. You know, talking a little bit about how the schools, the expanding programs with the schools, the expanding other programs and everything else that we had to make these tough decisions. And this is what we got right now.
And you're asking for that to be as part of Tom's presentation or just part of the overall presentation, or?
I'd say that's more of us, but before we lead into Tom or Ed, whoever's going to speak on their side, before that, we would have to do that.
Okay, as a component of our initial remarks.
Exactly. You know, explaining really going into, I mean, look, guys, I really, you know, this has been, I've enjoyed the time with you guys, and I think we've all put a lot of time into this. And I want to make sure folks realize that that time was spent doing, not just sitting around because we had nothing better to do on a evening, and that we took in a lot of input for this thing.
Okay. Okay, I'll hold my thoughts until we get everybody else's. Anything else, Dave?
That like I said, that's it. I really think the architect side is more of just the plan and the vision more than anything else. You know, and I think the rest is up to us.
Yep, I agree. Okay, Mr. Jeffries.
So I have a couple of thoughts. The first is that I think it would be beneficial to have a handout at town meeting of the schematic design itself. It gives people something to look at while they are sitting and waiting. And it also provides, you know, if they have any questions, it gives them the opportunity to think of those questions. So I would urge that handout. Now, I do believe, and we can check in with Heather on this one, that we do have to get those handouts in advance. That way they can be prepared in a packet. And I don't believe that we're going to have a table that people can walk up to. But I do think that a handout would be helpful. Second thing is I would include in the presentation the either a reference to the sign-offs or the actual sign-offs from the departments. I think that that's a critical part of this. And having that as part of this presentation, I think, removes some of those question marks. So when it gets to the generalized plan, you know, if people do have this smaller handout and it gets the general plan, we have to think about all the people who aren't going to attend, who are going to see this on television and who are going to be watching this on TV. So I would have 3 slides to go over the actual building design. So probably 4 actually. One being the overall plan, but really when you talk about it, to have the first one being the community space. That I think that that's what people want to see, know about, and I think that that's a good selling point on this is the community space. The second slide then being town offices, and the third slide being the school area. I think that order may make sense. So that's a third, yeah, so the order of that and then adding in more slides for that. And then my other comment is traffic. So recently this week, there was some kind of Facebook post and I saw some responses, keeping in mind that there is a portion of town that no matter what we do with TC Passios, if it's not a school, they're going to be in opposition to. And so there was some discussion on Facebook this week that someone commented on how difficult it is to pick up and drop off kids at the schools right now. And the response from this sect was, and there's a section of people in town who want to put town offices at the old TC Passios, you know, kind of like imagine how much worse it's going to be if that happens. So I think that we need to preempt some of that by talking more about traffic and about how traffic patterns will change and or be remedied by this new design. I think that that's an important piece of the puzzle. That's it. And I do have to unfortunately sign off here shortly. I have another meeting at 7 that I have to get into, and I'm facilitating that one. So I do have to get going in about another minute or so.
Okay, thank you, sir. I have a couple of things. One, I I echo Mr. Jeffries in that we should have handouts. And I did query Heather on that, and she said there are not any other handouts anticipated, so we don't have to coordinate with another handout to be put into an overall packet, but that we do need to get it to the town clerk in advance so that it can be handed out to each individual person as they check in. So more on that later, but it can be done, and I agree that it should be done. I think giving people take-home information is a good idea in this case. Second, I definitely echo I think it was Brian who mentioned the slide that we have on the screen here. Bigger is better. If you think it's big enough, I'd make it 25% larger, even if you need 3 slides. We have a perpetual problem of people not being able to see this information on TV. Like I guarantee, like for example, right now, I can't read that at all. And but we have to assume that most people in town, because of the way we're at, are going to be viewing town meeting on a computer screen like we're viewing it right here. Maybe on a larger screen TV, but still the resolution is going to be the same. So I think that making sure that it is really legible is a very good idea. We have, at least a couple people I can think of in town have sort of perpetually, and they're absolutely right. Making things so it's legible is important. In terms of the additional things, what I would like to do, and maybe this isn't a huge deal if we're going to do handouts, but I think it would be nice to have some presentation boards as people are walking in on an easel. But having said that, I also don't know if we want to encourage people standing next to each other, congregating in the midst of coronavirus and COVID-19. So maybe this year is not the best year for that, and we just go with the handouts. But I think at a minimum, we should have, in terms of plans, we should definitely do those scans. I think that's really great. We should have, we should show existing conditions. I just think it's a sort of an eye catcher. It's pretty interesting to the eye. I definitely would like to show the site plan, and then obviously the building plan. And I think Mr. Jeffries is probably correct. We should probably do an overall, and then I don't know if you want to, on the overall, put A, B, C, sort of a box on it so people can see what handouts are gonna go. I'll leave that up to you, but I think those would be important to have. And then I think probably the thing to do, and I guess I'm just looking for guidance from you folks, is I can put together an outline of what I think the presentation from our committee should be. I'll try to do that before next week, and try to get it to you folks in advance so that we can discuss it and be prepared to make a motion to have Dave Passios do the presentation.
I knew you guys would do that if I stepped away.
No, we can talk about that money, but I'll put something together if that's okay with everybody, and for discussion for next week, Monday. Tom, do you have enough input from the committee to kind of update things for update your presentation?
Yeah, and one thing I want to point out, still the slide on the screen, it was more, my original intention was to use it more as a graphics, not to show the contents, but it's just show the complexity and stuff. But obviously, and I don't intend for people to see the details. I don't want the people to see the details, but maybe I should. And if that's the case, we can enlarge and just show portions of it.
Tom, if I look at it that way, if you wanted to have more of a slide that showed how many hours you spent interviewing different departments, how many times you talked to different departments and things like that, I think that would be better, kind of be a better indication of how much time you guys have spent on this already. And that I think would be going over better. So if it was something real simple that just said, hey, we spent, 50 hours interviewing departments, 10 hours visiting the site, whatever the number turns out to be.
Yeah.
And things like that.
And, unless you're prepared to, I mean, I know this is probably the case in every town, but I know it's the case in our town. Unless you're prepared to talk, to discuss and respond to anything that you have, in detail to what you have on your slide. It doesn't matter if you meant it for discussion or not. If you're not prepared to go into that in detail, don't put it on there.
Okay, it'll be gone.
Because, you might think of it as just like a graphic aid to something else on the slide, but someone's gonna roll with it. So, and I'm not saying we shouldn't give detail. I'm just saying, let's make sure that we're ready to discuss it. Be prepared to discuss it in detail if we have it on there.
Thanks.
All right. Anybody else have any input into this?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, because someone had mentioned the traffic flow. I would also mention about the added parking too. I think that would be good to mention that there's going to be additional parking available.
Yeah, traffic falls into one of those categories where remember, this is an update article. Okay, this is not an approval article. This is an update article. We're asking the town to accept an update from the committee. We're not asking them to fund it. So I'm not saying we should not discuss details of the plan, but there's going to be another day for those kind of discussions for sure. So to the extent that there's something we say about trying not to get in the weeds with those type of things. I agree with the sentiment that we want to get out ahead of that issue. I think it's going to be a big one. But I think we need to just be cautious and we might not be able to avoid it anyway, but I think we just need to try to keep from getting into the weeds in this particular forum, because I think there'll be other ways of other opportunities for us to discuss it as we get into the later design stages.
Great point. Unfortunately, you guys have to sign off, and I'll see you guys at our next meeting.
Okay, I don't think you're going to miss much. I think we're pretty close ourselves.
We're losing a quorum anyhow, so.
Well, we'll have 4 still, right?
Oh, yeah, yes.
Yep.
Yes.
We're okay.
Thank you.
Anybody
All
else
right.
need to go,
Thank
or
you.
I have to leave in a half an hour probably, or sooner, but I think we're close. So, Tom, it sounds like you have enough to kind of get you, okay. And like I said, I'll issue at least a presentation from our committee in outline form, so that we can start that dialogue. Well, we need to finalize that dialogue next week, so we'll get that rolling. Heather, are you still here? Yeah. If we have when do we need to get final information or packet to the clerk?
If we can have that the week prior.
Okay. So like 1 week prior, like on the.
So the 11th is Veterans Day and offices are closed that day. So it would, the 10th or the 12th, the latest, I would say.
12th of this. Okay. And I mean, I'm happy to print these. How many copies do you think we need?
Hard to say. Typically we look historically at how many people attend the specials. We've been printing probably 150, but.
Okay. I mean, I can, all right. Well, we'll cross that bridge next Tuesday. We'll decide how we'll do that, but okay. So the 12th, the Thursday after, is that Thursday?
Yes.
Okay. So the Thursday, so that'll only give us 3 days, one of which is a holiday, lead time to make those packets after next week. So just so everybody's aware. Okay. All right. I think we're good on this issue. Thanks, everybody. Let's see, moving on. Community outreach. Again, this is a placeholder. I do think that now that we have approved schematic design, Heather, I would like to get this up on the website. And I think that once we have a formal, packet that's going to be ready for prime time for town meeting, I would like to get that on the website. So I'll work with you on that, I guess. Does anybody have anything else?
Ledger articles have to be in the Monday before the Friday,
Okay.
if you
wanna
want
do a
something in
ledger?
the ledger.
You think we should do a ledger?
Well, maybe our next meeting, if you want to, maybe we can see about inviting the reporter, Matt from the Ledger, to
Okay.
join the meeting. And maybe he can do an article for us.
I'd like to see some like Facebook shares, Facebook posts to different groups in the community. Once it's up on the website, maybe sharing that on Facebook, the website where they can find this information.
How do you do that?
I could do it.
I don't know.
Literally sharing the link for the website.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't,
Posting.
I'm not, I still got the same Facebook picture that I had 30 years ago, so.
Yeah, but I feel like different avenues. It's all about reaching as many people as we can. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of people on Facebook.
I agree. I try really hard to stay completely apolitical on my personal Facebook page. Not that this is political, but
Yeah.
But I'll publish the link, I guess. Okay. Again, I think our major community outreach effort at this point is preparation for town meeting, but I think those steps of putting, now that we have a plan that's approved, I'd like to get it up there and the presentation so that people can download it.
All right. Mr. Chair, following up on Mr. Layton's comments, maybe we can get a list of the different Facebook pages in town or something like that, just so we can, maybe be able to know that we can hit each one or something like, make sure we hit each one to get the word out.
I can share with the committee a list.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you're that active, sir. Okay.
You know a lot of them.
I got to tell you, I'm not.
That
So
active. but
I know, same. I barely keep up with LinkedIn, so, I'm like.
I try to pay.
I think Dave Passios runs one of them too. So
Yeah.
maybe he can.
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed that conversation. What was that all about?
We're just talking about Facebook and lists.
Posting and
Trying to get
Oh,
different Facebook pages, town Facebook pages to post links to the website when we update it.
maybe Lunenburg
Sure.
politics. It's kind of politics of Lunenburg. Could fit
Yeah.
in that category.
I think, yeah, anyway, all right. I agree, social media. I love it and I hate it, both, so. All right. Anybody else have any community outreach discussion? Okay. Anybody have any new business? Okay. I did not see any minutes circulating, so I think we can pass that one. Future meeting schedule. So we have a meeting next week, Monday, and then we have town meeting, and I think I've determined that we do not, Heather, correct me if I'm wrong here. We're not going to vote on anything at town meeting. So I don't think the presence of a quorum
Correct.
means
Or
that we need
you mean
to.
your committee?
Say that again, Heather?
You mean your committee?
Yeah, we don't, well, there was a question raised last week as to whether or not, and I know I asked you the question, Heather, and I can't remember the answer.
It's okay. So you're not required for a town meeting to post individual boards.
Okay,
It's town meeting covers that.
only if we're going to
But-
vote on something like the finance committee or the select board or something like that.
Right, but that would have, any of that discussion would have to happen at the microphone so everyone can hear.
Okay, so I think we do not need to post that meeting is the long or the short of that, so. So do we want to talk about something past town meeting? And Tom and Ed, when do you think you might want to rally the troops again?
Would you folks like to take a 1 week off break after town meeting?
One
The,
week?
what we would,
Actually, we'll be running into Thanksgiving as well, won't we?
That'll be the week of the 23rd is Thanksgiving.
So town meeting and then Thanksgiving week.
All right,
should
so
we
you-
plan on starting again the week after?
December.
And what we would propose to do is start looking at interior and exterior design concepts and also start talking to the committee about what we think of the finishes and different systems before we will have to go back to the different departments to get the next level of information. But this will give us time. I mean, we already have set up the sheets and stuff for design development. So it's a matter of getting the feedback from the committee on the design, and there might be additional engineering issues that we'd like to discuss.
Okay, so actually the 30th is a 5th Monday. Anybody have any thoughts on that?
It is the 5th Monday.
So I say that because I think planning board is the 2nd and 4th.
Yes.
Typically, that's a free date for them.
I'm available.
It's typically a free date for me because most of the meetings I attend are also on the something and something, you know, the either an odd Mondays or odd Tuesdays. But usually when there's a 5th day, I'm usually pretty free. Anybody else have any? Well, let me poll the audience. Brian, what's your availability on the 30th of
Free.
November?
I'm available.
Okay. Dave Blatt,
I can be available.
Dave
At this
Pastios?
I am open at this point.
Okay, and me too. So I think Michael Ray said his conflicts with Mondays were more at the beginning of the month, but man, I can't remember.
At the very worst, it looks like about 7 o'clock if he does have a conflict.
Okay, so let's go for the 30th. So next meeting would be the 9th next week at 5:30, and then the 30th. And do we want to still stick with the 5:30?
Yes.
I want to stick with 5:30. I like 5:30.
Yeah.
That sound good? Okay. So the 9th and the 30th at 5:30.
Well, Mr. Chair, the other thing with 5:30, at least you get Michael Ray for at least the hour and a half.
Hour and a half, yeah. And honestly, selfishly, you know, like I have a meeting that's starting now. I'm not on till later, but you know, most of the meetings I have to attend are start at 7 or 7:30 as well. So a lot of times we can get a meeting in before that. So,
Okay.
okay, good.
Greg, just a heads up on the 9th, I'm going to have another meeting I'm going to have to drop out to at 6:30.
Okay, all right.
Just giving you a heads up.
I see the 9th as being mainly, I'm not going to call it a workshop, but I see it as mainly just a discussion on town meeting preparation.
Right.
So I'm hoping that we can kind of, you know, I'm hoping that's not going to take a super long time. All right. I believe that is it on that. Is there any public comment from the public?
I noticed Steve Walker signed on. I'm not sure if.
I did. Steve, I hope you weren't sitting in the waiting room for too long. I have a hard time.
No, you got me right in. I had to run the PAC meeting.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, I don't see any public comment from the public, so I'll open it up to any public comment from the committee.
I guess if I may, Greg?
Yep.
I'd just like to congratulate this committee. You know, we've put a lot of work and thought into getting to this point, and you know, we kind of got tangled in the weeds about 6 weeks ago, but we've managed to pull through that spell, and I think listen to everybody's concerns and needs and come out with the product that we all agreed to this evening. It's been a great process. It's been an enjoyable process for me. And I look forward to the next steps going forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Yeah, I got to say the same thing. I've enjoyed working with all of you guys. Michael Ray as well. Also our previous members of the committee, and I'm sure Mr. Allison, moving forward. And you too, Tom and Ed, really appreciate all the effort. I sit in your seat more often than not, so I understand what goes into that. So appreciate the effort, and looking forward to the next step. Okay, if there's no other comment, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, is there a second?
Second at 7:13 p.m.
Okay, roll call vote. Brian Leighton,
Aye.
Dave Blatt,
Yes.
Dave Passios,
Aye.
and an aye for me. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Night, everybody.
Good night. Enjoy. See you next week.